Here is our non-self-tapping version of the Healicoil Knotless with Regenazorb as the proximal implant. As you can see with the non-self-tapping versions, they have a peak distal eyelet. This distal eyelet can hold up to 6 number 2 sutures or 4 mini tapes / ultra tapes. The diameter of the proximal implant is 5.5. The diameter of the distal eyelet is 3.75. Once deployed into the bone, the total length of this anchor is going to be 18.5 millimeters. One of my favorite features of this new Healicoil Knotless is the distal eyelet. It has an internal locking mechanism, which is key in those osteopenic bony conditions where the patient has some sort of comorbidity and bone stock has been compromised. What this internal locking mechanism allows you to do is have secure biomechanical fixation that is independent of the patient bone quality. And it reduces the amount of suture slippage after the patient goes to rehab or through their normal day-to-day, which is key in making sure those rotator cuff repaired tendons can heal properly with secure biomechanics post time 0. I wanted to quickly address this bridge right here, Dr. Simonian. There is a reason behind the bridge. There's a lot of technology going on within this inserter. You have to have 2 gear shafts that operate independently, the black gas cap and the orange scallops. The black gas cap that descends the internal locking plug to lock the sutures, and then the orange scallops sending down your proximal implant. These have to be able to spin independently of each other in order for the implant to function properly, and that's what this bridge allows. It keeps the outside portion stationary and keeps these two independent. If we did not have the bridge, what would happen if you would turn the black gas cap or your orange scallops? They would both spin at the same time and the implant would not sit appropriately. On top of the 2 gear shafts spinning independently, there's also a series of springs that are located within this inserter handle, and that mechanism is called the axial compliance feature. And what that does is in hard bone situations when you're malleting the implant down, and instead of the forces from the bone being redirected back to the proximal implant, they're actually absorbed in those springs so we can seat our device more frequently and readily in those hard bone patient populations. Another key feature about the Healicoil Knotless that I wanted to bring up to you, Dr. Simonian, was the fact that it has no hard stop, which is done on purpose by our engineers. And what they did was they built in an overdrive feature. Just for an example, picture utilizing your multi-fix S device and you're twisting down the proximal implant and it comes to a hard stop. The inserter is removed and the device looks like it's still sitting proud. Well, the engineers recognized that that was a pain point, and what they did was they designed additional turns within this inserter handle as the overdrive feature. So in the event that you start to descend the proximal implant and the threads don't catch, there are additional turns built in on the back end that you can continue to descend the implant until the laser line is buried. I wanted to quickly touch a little bit more upon this bridge, Dr. Simonian. The way this suture flag is loaded in the anchor in the package, it allows for the surgical tech to just load the suture. And once they hand you the anchor, this bridge will always be in the 6 o'clock position and out of your way. So once you lock the sutures in place with your black gas cap and it's time to descend the proximal implant and twist the orange scallops, I know you typically crank your hands with the multi-fix S in order to have the anchor fully seated. With this anchor and the technology that's in this inserter, you'll just have to use downward pressure and just twist the anchor with your fingers as if you're using a swivel lock. You shouldn't have to use as much brute force as you do with the multi-fix S. And I'm pretty excited to see what your opinion is on that. It's a key feature that I feel like you're gonna like.